All right, my good and beautiful people. We are, oh, sorry. All right, my good and beautiful people. So in this video or in this part of the lecture, we are going to talk about cell and the fundamental unit of life. And you are, or cell as the fundamental unit of life. If you are tracking on the book, this will be under chapter 2, it will be the structure of cells and function. So hopefully lesson 1 and maybe lesson 2. Okay, under chapter 2. Cool. All right. So cells, they are the fundamental unit of life. Isn't that fantastic? And what is a cell, one might ask? One might ponder. What is a cell? Well, a cell is the basic structure and functional unit of a living organism, right? So if you want to function, you need cells. In other words, cells make up living things. So your entire body is composed of cells, and they carry out activities that keep a living thing alive. Cool? Yeah, exciting. All right. So there's something called a cell theory. And what is a cell theory? You may ask. Thanks for asking. A cell theory is a collection of ideas and conclusions from many different scientists over time that describes cells and how cells operate. So a cell theory is basically what is a cell and how it works. Cool? Yeah. All right. So we are not reading in the book, you guys. Oh, the screen is not on. I'm like, why are you guys staring at your book and you're looking at me like I'm crazy? It's right there. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Bro, what is she doing? What is she talking about? Insanity. For those of you who are watching online, basically my big projector screen was not showing what it needed to show. All right, so my good friends, cell theory again is basically what does a cell do and how it does it. 3 things that you need to know about cell theory. All known living things are made up of 1 or more cells. So there are things out there that just have 1 cell. But for the most part, most other things have more than 1 cells. Number 2, all living cells arise from pre-existing cells by division. So no cell is just created out of nowhere. It comes through cell division. So by dividing the original cell, copying and dividing the original cell. Cool? And the cell is the basic unit of structure and function in all of the living organism. Cool, my friends? Yeah, so excited. All right, our timeline. We care about it. We really don't care about it. It's fine, but just so, are they yelling in the other room?
No, we didn't get to finish.
Oh, people, that's what you need to know. Okay, I'll try to post these links somewhere so that you don't have to keep writing every single thing. Okay, you can take pictures. No, but I'll send this one. I can actually post right under the video because this is a link.
Oh.
Okay, so this, I didn't make this slide. Someone else made the slide. This is what we're using though. And it will be, for those of you who are watching, you will find this link right below the video. All right, my good people. Okay, so our cell theory timeline, and feel free to stop me and ask questions. 1665, Robert Hooke discovered cell. 1674, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, I don't know how to say his name. This person, he observed living cells. And in 1883, Robert Brown discovered the nucleus. Nucleuses are cool. All right. More on the cell theory timeline. We really do not care about it for the test if you are taking this for the GRE test, but just for funs and kicks, this is basically it. Cool people discovering cool things. All right. So there are unicellular organisms, and these are organisms that are made up of one cell. And these are called unicellular organism, just like a unicycle has one wheel. Thank you. Uni means one, right? So almost anytime you see it in the beginning of the word, it means one. So unicellular, you know what uni means, you know what cell means one cell. Okay, so these are organisms that have one cell. Huh? Everything else you're gonna need. You just don't need the history portion. All right, cool. So you do need to know unicellular organism. You probably don't need to know which one is which, right? Yeast though, this is the yeast, active yeast you put in your bread. There you go. Cool. Multicellular organism, you know that what multi means, more than one, multiple, right? You know what cells mean. So multicellular means that there is more than one cell. Okay, plants, animals, fungus, all of it. Cool. All right. So these are these two are the multicellular organism under a microscope. So there are similarities between them, but they look a little different, right? So you can see that the cell leaves, or the leaf, the cells of the leaves have this kind of like, what is it, a hexagon? All right, so like a 5-sided thing going on for them. And the muscle cells look a little different. However, you have almost like a repeated pattern, and it's noticeable. All right, size of cells, they are 1 of 1,000 millimeters. Cool. All right, size of human cells, this is it, relatively small. The ovum is the largest cell, okay? The sperm is the smallest cell because they need to travel as quickly as possible. Okay, and that's why you find that everything else apart from the DNA strand from the dad, from the man, there's almost nothing else that the sperm carries. So all like the mitochondria and all the things that you'll see inside the cell come from the mother cell. Because the job of the sperm is to travel as quickly as possible to get to the ovum. That's why the ovum is the biggest one. All right, different shapes, different structures. All right, cool. So this is what is inside an animal cell. All right, so by animal, we don't just mean your neighbor's dog, we also mean you and I. All right, so human cells look like this. They have the nucleus in the center. And inside the nucleus, you will find, nucleolus, that's what it is. So inside the nucleus, there is the nucleolus. And then you have the Golgi body, which is out here. It's the green stuff on here. The vessels, which are out here, that's where they have them. The plasma membrane. All right, so all of it, not just here. Okay, so all of it, all of the surrounding areas. The mitochondria, the fun little pink stuff, those are all the mitochondria. The cytoskeletons, which are over here, that's what they have them on there. The lysosomes, the cytoplasm, the rough endoplasmic reticulum, and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Cool. And we will talk about each one in a minute. All right, so plant looks fairly similar, little different, fairly similar, little different. Yeah, you'll see the same names. Cool, but the plant cell does not have a mitochondria. The mitochondria produces the energy of the cell. All right, or it does have a mitochondria. I'm sorry. The human cell doesn't have a Chloroplast. My apologies. It doesn't have the human one doesn't have a chloroplast. the plant one does. That's the one that's missing. All right, almost everything else looks the same. The membrane looks different. The plasma membrane looks different. Yeah. The outside membrane as well, which is the cell wall, looks different. You have a membrane, they have a cell wall. Yeah. Cool. All right. And this, my friend, is the cell of the bacteria, which looks a little bit different. Cool. None of all the fancy stuff that we saw on the other side. Basically, the DNA hanging out without a nucleus, just chilling. Yeah. Okay. So cell structure. If we study a cell under a microscope, we would come across 3 features in almost every cell. So these are the things that every single cell has. They are the plasma, they are the membrane, nucleus, and the plasma membrane, sorry, the nucleus and the cytoplasm. These are all there in all of them, and you saw it in each one, okay? There's the plasma membrane, there is the nucleus, and there is the cytoplasm. And all activities inside the cell and interactivities of the cell with its environment are due to these features. So everything that the cell interacts with is due to these particular features. Cool? By the way, this video is going on YouTube, so you're good. Yeah. It might help later. For the people who can't see me, because usually they can see me. For those of you who are watching and can't see us, there are people here recording the video that I'm already recording. Hopefully it will work. All right. So what is the plasma membrane? All right. So the plasma membrane is an extremely delicate, thin, elastic, living, semi-permeable membrane. Permeable means that it could be penetrated, but not entirely, okay? So things can go through it, but not really, which we will explain in a minute, all right? So it's made up of 2 layers of lipid molecules in which protein molecules are floating. So you see the blue top and the blue bottom. These are the 2 layers of lipid molecules, and inside them you have protein molecules that are floating. All right, so things like these. Cool. And you'll see this opening allows for things to pass through the membrane. All right. And you can see it under an electron microscope, which we really don't care about. The functions, what they do is they maintain the shape and size of the cell. That's their job. Okay. They also protect internal content of the cell so that not everything is coming in willy-nilly. Yeah. And they regulate entry and exits of substance in and out of the cell. They determine who comes in and what comes out. All right. And they maintain homeostasis, which basically is peace within the cell. Oh, cool. Then we have our good friend, the cell wall. And what is the cell wall? Well, the cell wall is a non-living and outermost covering of the cell in plants and bacteria. Okay, so in plants, it's pretty tough. It's rigid and sometimes flexible. That's why the leaves, they're a little harder, right? And they're also a little more flexible because of the cell wall. Okay, it is made up of celluloses, hemicellulose, and pectin. Okay, and it may be thick, it may be thin, it may be multi-layered structure. It depends on the organism. All right, and the functions, they provide definite shape and strength and rigidity. So they make things rigid, they give them an actual shape, and they prevent things from drying up, or the drying up of the cell, right? Without them, the cell is not protected. It gets dehydrated, and it helps in controlling the cell expansion. How big can that cell get? And it protects the cell from external pathogens. Okay? So that is what plants and bacteria have. We do not necessarily have a cell wall, at least I don't think. Right? We can check. There's a cell wall here. There's a cell wall on this side, and there is no cell wall on ours. Cool? All right, the nucleus, our favorite place in the world. The nucleus, my friends, is a dense spherical body located in the center of the cell. So it's inside the cell, in the middle. It is the, what's it called? The headquarters. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, it's present in all cells except red blood cells and Steve tube cells. All right, but you don't need to know about the last one. However, it's not present in red blood cells. Well developed in plants and animal cells, right? It's very evident in plants and animal cells. It's not very developed in bacteria or blue-green algae. So while bacteria does have a nucleus, it's not really like the one you find in animal cells or plant cells, which is why earlier when I was talking about the bacteria, I was kind of saying like it's kind of floating in there, right? Because it's not very developed. And most of the cells are uninucleated, which means only having one nucleus, okay? So there aren't two nucleuses, or nuclei, I guess, right? That's the plural of nucleus. There's only one, or is that the single? Anyways, the point is, there's only one. I do not speak Latin. Latin is not one of my languages. All right, and few types of cells have more than one a nucleus, so only a few of them, and these are the skeletal muscle cell. And what is the nucleus? Well, the nucleus has a double layered covering called nuclear membrane. All right, the nuclear membrane has pores and colorless dense sap inside the nucleus known as nucleoplasm. So it's like a material that's kind of like sap inside the nucleoplasm, inside the nucleus called nucleoplasm. That nucleoplasm, it contains round-shaped nucleus and a network of chromatin fibers. So inside this like reddish color over here, it's dense. That is the nucleus, or sorry, the nucleolus. All of this is the nucleus. This is the nucleolus. And fibers are composed of diribonucleic acid, which is DNA. That's what DNA stands for, and protein histones. All right. And these fibers are condensed to form chromosomes during living division, during cell division. Cool? Questions? It's a lot. This would be the time to ask questions. No questions. I'm that good. Cool. Sweet. All right. I think for most of you guys, it's probably a revision. You guys already know this stuff. Or maybe you don't, and I'm just really good. I don't know. Okay. So chromosomes contain a stretch of DNA called genes. Not like the ones you wear. All right. So genes transfer the heredity information from one generation to the next. So they grab your your DNA, right? And those DNA has the chromosomes. They're all like rolled up inside, and they form these tiny chromosomes. And they transfer. These then have genes on them that are passed down from generation to generation, depending on the parents. Okay. So what is a function of a nucleus? Well, it controls all the cell activities like metabolism, protein synthesis, growth and cell divisions, and so forth. And it also, nucleolus synthesizes ribonucleic acid, so RNA. It's DNA's twin sister, but not really. Okay, so they are cousins, you can say. And that constitute ribosomes, and we'll talk about those later. And they store heredity information in genes. So they also can produce, the nucleolus not only has the DNA, but it can also produce or synthesize, right, read RNA. Cool. The cytoplasm is a jelly-like material formed 80% of water. Woo-hoo. Okay. It's present between the plasma membrane and the nucleus, right? So you guys can see it. Sorry. All right. And then particles are proteins, carbohydrates, nucleic acids, lipid, and inorganic ions. It also contains many organelles with distinct structures and functions. So within the cytoplasm, you'll find different organelles kind of hanging out there, right? They're not in the nucleus, they're not attached to it, they're like just hanging out in the cytoplasm, okay? And some of these organelles are visible only under electron microscope, which for our purposes, we don't care about. All right, and they are granule and dense in animal cells and thin in plant cells. Cool. The endoplasmic reticulum, I don't know why, but I've always liked saying that word, endoplasmic reticulum. Well, it is a network of tubular and vascular structures which are interconnected to one another. They kind of look like coral reefs, but inside a cell, okay? Some parts are connected to the nuclear membrane while others are connected to the cell membrane. All right, some part of this thing is connected to the nuclear membrane, which is in the nucleus, right? And some are connected to the outer membrane, which is the cellular membrane. All right, and there are two types of endoplasmic reticulum, the smooth ones which do not have ribosomes and the rough one which have ribosomes on them, okay? And what do they do? Thank you for asking, you guys. I know you're so excited to know. Well, it gives internal support to the cytoplasm. It's RER synthesized secretory, right? So what's secreted? Proteins and membrane proteins. So kind of read them. So the rough endoplasmic reticulum takes the basically the secreted proteins and synthesizes it, and the membrane proteins. And then the smooth endoplasmic reticulum synthesizes lipids from cell membranes. Okay, so both of them are synthesizing something. Cool. In the liver, they just detoxify drugs and poison. That's their job. They take the drugs and poison and hopefully rid your body of it. And in the muscle, they store calcium ions. Cool things, aren't they? The Golgi Body. Woo! All right, the Golgi Body was discovered by Camille Golgi. That's why it's called the Golgi Body. And it's formed by stacks of 5 to 8 membrane sacs. And these sacs are usually flattened, are called cisternae. All right, which is also irrelevant to what we're talking about, okay? Has 2 ends, the cis face, and that's near the endoplasmic reticulum, and the trans face, which is near the cell membrane, okay? Situated, the word you're saying there means like located, okay? And what does this Golgi do? Well, it modifies, it sorts and packs material and synthesizes the material synthesized in the cells. So it's kind of like the delivery. It's like the post office, yeah? So delivers synthesized material to various targets inside the cell and outside the cell. They are the shipping hub of the cell. Cool? Make sense? All right, and it produces vacuoles and I don't know how to pronounce that word. Vacuoles, and secretory vessels. So these are basically vessels that transport whatever information is going in or out of the cell. So they bring those in and they send those out. It's like the mailman, right? Off you go to your route. And they form plasma membrane and lysosomes. Cool stuff. So this is a picture of the Golgi Body at work. You have the Golgi Body, it's kind of sitting there. They take the stuff from the rough RNA, from the rough endoplasmic reticulum. They take that information, it goes in, it gets processed, and it gets sent out through these vesicles. okay, or through these vessels. And some of them are like pushed outside of the plasma membrane, and some of them go to other parts of the cell. Cool? Do you see it? Do you see the post office at work? Legit. All right. Then we have our good friends, the lysosomes. Lysosomes, they are small, spherical, single membrane sacs, and they are found throughout the cytoplasm. So everywhere in the cytoplasm, right, all over the place, here and there, they are found. Remember, the cytoplasm is like the sap material, and things are kind of hanging out there. Well, lysosomes is one of the things that just, nonchalantly hangs out there. All right, and it is filled with hydraulic enzymes, and they occur in most animal cells and in a few types of plant cells. And their function is to help digesting of large molecules and protect the cell by destroying foreign invaders like bacteria and viruses. Cool people. And degradations of worn out organelles, so it breaks them down, and in dead cells performs autolysis. All right. And then we have the vacuoles, or however way you want to pronounce that, which is a single membrane sac filled with liquid or sap. And in animal cells, these vacuoles are temporary, small in size, and a few are temporary, they're small in size, and they are a few in number. All right. And in plant cells, they are large and there are more of them. And they may be contractiles or non-contractiles, which I'm not sure what that is, but we can carry on. All right, and what do they do? Why do we care about them? Well, they store various substances, including waste products, right? And this is part of the Golgi, right? Some of the things that are being transported, and maintains osmosis pressure of the cell. It stores food particles and I can't remember how to pronounce that word. Ambia cells, and provide turgidity and rigidity to plant cells. So the reason why they are rigid is because of these cool things. Mitochondria, literally my favorite one. Why, you may ask? Thanks for asking. Well, it's only passed on through the mom. And the DNA inside your mitochondria is different than the DNA inside your nucleus, right? Because that is only maternal. So if you have a daughter and you're a girl, she has yours, the same as you have, the same as your mom, the same as her mom, and the same as her mom. If you are a man, well, good luck. You get to pass on other things. But as for the mitochondria, you have your moms as well. All right, so it's small, rod-shaped organelles bound by two membranes, inner and outer. And the outer membrane is smooth and enclosed with contents of mitochondria. The inner membrane is folded in the form of shelf in inward projection called cristates. All right, you guys see them? And the inner cavity is filled with matrix, which contains many enzymes and contains their own DNA, which are responsible for many enzymatic actions. Cool. And what do? Well, they synthesize energy-rich compound ATP. So they basically form the energy of the cell. All right. And ATP molecules provide energy for vital activities for a living cell. All right. And then we have plasticestes, and they are double membrane bound organelles found inside the plant cells and algae, so not in animal cells. They are responsible for activities relating to making and storing foods, and they often contain different types of pigments that can change the color of the cell. Yeah? Cool. And then chromoplasts are plasticestes that produce and store pigments. That's why you find carrots are orange, you have mangoes that are yellow, and then tomatoes that are red, okay? They are responsible for the different colors in fruits and vegetables because, as we said, they can transform the different color of the cell depending on the pigment that is there, right? And how they store food and so forth. Cool, that's why our fruits and vegetables are so colorful, is because of the chromoplasts. And then we have the leucoplasts, and they are colorless, and they are stored in food. They are found in storage organs such as fruits, tubers, and seeds. Okay, so they're found in potatoes, they're found in corn, and they are found in castor seeds. The chloroplast, woo! I like the chloroplast, it's cool. All right, it's kind of like the mitochondria, which there is a mitochondria in the plants, but this one's also there. So it's a double membrane bound organelle found mainly in plant cells. It is usually spherical, shows two distinct regions, the grana and the stroma, and the granas are stacked with thylakoids, there we go. And the thylakoids contain chlorophyll molecules, which are responsible for photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is how plants live. That's how they get their energy. We get our energy through food, and then we create ATPs and so forth. Well, they don't eat. We eat them. Okay, so they need something to form energy, and that is done through the chloroplast. And the stroma is colorless, dense fluid. So what does it do? It converts light into chemical energy in the form of food, right? That's why plants, it's so essential to have it in the sun sometimes, right? Different types of plants require different types of lighting because it depends on how much they eat. Obviously, an elephant eats a lot more than an ant, right? So you put more food out for the elephant. There are some plants that require more sun, so you put them outside more so than other plants, like fungus, right? Well, fungus is not a plant. And the centrosomes. And the centrosomes is a membrane-bound organelle present near the nucleus, and it consists of two structures called centraloids. And these are hollow and cylindrical structures made of microtubules. And the centraloids are arranged at a right angle to each other. So it kind of looks like, this. It's kind of like a right angle, like there is a right angle between them. Okay, and what do they do? I'm glad you asked. No one's asking me. All right, what do? They form spindle fibers which help in the movement of chromosomes during cell divisions. Okay, so when the cell is dividing and multiplying, it's increasing in numbers. Well, these microtubules are what make sure that they are able to do that, which through the other process, it's very evident that they're there. Okay, and help in the formation of cilia and flagella. Then we have the cytoskeleton, and the cytoskeleton is formed by microtubules and microfilaments. Microtubules are hollow tubes made up of proteins called tubulin, and microfilaments are rod-shaped thin filaments made up of protein called actin. All right, and what do? Well, they determine the shape of the cell and give structural strength to the cell, and they are responsible for cellular movement. So, moving. Cool. There are basically these two types of cells. One is called prokaryotic cell. The other one's called eukaryotic cell. And in the prokaryotic cell, nucleus is undeveloped. It's almost as if it's not there, right? It only has only one chromosome is present, only has one chromosome, and the membrane-bound organelles are absent. Sorry, so it's just the nucleus, basically, right? Or it's just that chromosome of DNA, and you basically find it in bacteria and blue-green algae, and it kind of like the bacteria comes in and it injects that DNA into your cells, and that's how you get sick, right? So prokaryotic cells, one chromosome, nucleus, basically not there. Eukaryotic cells, they actually have a nucleus and it's well developed and it has more than one chromosome. We have more than one chromosome, right? And they are membrane-bound organelles. They have membrane-bound organelles. And this is basically everything else besides bacteria and green blue algae. Cool? So the cells that you produce in your body are eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells. All right. Animal cells, they're generally small in size. Cell wall is absent, so it doesn't have a cell wall. Plastocytes are absent. Vacuoles are smaller size and less in number, and centrioles are present. All right, in comparison to so these are all eukaryotic, right? Animal cell and plant cells fall under eukaryotic cells. Plant cells, on the other hand, they're usually larger in size. They have a cell wall. They have plastocytes. There are more vacuoles and more of them and larger, and centrioles are absent. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. As per the